All right, what's up, my friends? Welcome to the Innistrad Midnight Hunt complete set review. That's right, every card, limited, constructed. We're going through all of them. All of them. We did white, we did blue. You missed those, or on YouTube, check them out. Watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment, do all the things. Help me out as a content creator. You're all freaking awesome. I appreciate that. Black is up next, and just jump right in. Let's just jump right in. No ad talks. First card is Arrogant Outlaw. Man, what an arrogant fool. 3 mana for a 3/2. Comes into play if opponent lost life this turn. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So this is a mechanic we'll see in the set. The vampires have abilities where you can only use the ability if your opponent has lost life this turn. So that's an important one to note. And really good aggro card. Really good aggro card. We had the vampire on the last set that was a 2/3. That was kind of like this. And this one's a 3/2, which is even better if you're aggressive. And then, you just get your 2-drop, get some damage in. Obviously not a great card. This is not like a card you're slamming or whatever, but like reasonable filler card for your aggro deck. Happy to play this card on turn 3. As a card in a non-aggro deck, it's not particularly good, but for what it does in that role, it's certainly a fine 3-drop. Very, very passable. Not a card you're always going to play either, but just solid aggro card. Very solid aggro card. Up next is Bane Blade Scoundrel, a werewolf. 4 mana for a 4/3, which is already very reasonable. Whenever it becomes blocked, each creature blocking gets -1/-1 on turn. It's got flanking, folks. Flanking. That's right. Where my boomers at? Flanking is a very, very powerful ability. Do not underestimate how good this ability is. This card's really, really hard to block. Like, really, really hard to block. So, very, very solid 4-drop so far. That's the day-bound side. The night-bound side is Baneclaw Marauder, which is a 5/4. That also has flanking, and says whenever a creature blocking this dies, they lose 1 life. This card's awesome. Super solid limited card. Obviously, both sides are great. The 4/3 side is great. This side's even better. And, as we were saying, a lot of the vampire cards care about your opponent losing life to turn on. So even if your opponent blocks this, they'll still lose a life, and it'll turn on the vampire card. So always look for those little, cross synergies, little pockets of synergy in your draft deck. They matter. They matter a lot. So very solid draft card. Just very, very good on rate on all sides on all sides. Get it? On all sides. Get it? On all. Bat Whisperer is our next card. It's a 4 mana 4/2, and when it comes into play, if your opponent lost life this turn, you get a bat token. So if you trigger this card's very, very good. A 4/2 and a Omen Flyer for 4 is quite the deal. That's a very, very good one. Again, good in aggro decks. Nothing amazing here. Similar to the Arrogant Outlaw, where it's like a very solid card in an aggressive deck. Not a card you always play. Not a card you pick super highly, but just a fine limited common. Nothing too crazy here. Pretty cool art, honestly. I like that art. Yeah, basically Bloodthirst, for sure, basically. Of course, you can lose a life other ways too, though, so I guess that's also Bloodthirst. Whatever. Blade Brand is next. 2 mana for an instant, Death Touch, draw a card. I don't have anything cool to do with this card, but it's just like your limited, whatever card. I mean, like, you can trade up, you can attack with your decay tokens. It's kind of cool with the decay tokens where, like, you attack your decay token into their 5/5. They might block. They might not, though, honestly. So it's just like this is like your middling kind of like limited card. Nothing really amazing. It's fine. Whatever. Up next is Blood Pact. 3 mana for an instant. Draw 2, lose 2. Definitely an okay limited card for a slower deck. Also being an instant is very important. Again, with all of your werewolves, you got to look at every instant with a little more luster than usual, because with instants in your deck, you can play your werewolf, say go, flip it, play a card on their turn, and still have the card flipped. So a little extra value there. This card's a lot better at 3 mana than it is at 4. We've seen these cards at 4 mana somewhat recently, and not as good there. But still, if you're a slow deck, you need some card advantage. It's fine. Not an overly exciting card, but it's cool. It's a cool card. The art is really cool. The art is really, really cool for this card. Definitely agree. I've never been a huge fan of Read the Bones, but honestly, that's mostly because it's a sorcery. So being an instant helps out a lot. So, okay card. Bloodline Culling. Black, 1, instant. Creature gets -5 on a turn, or tokens get -2 to end of turn. kind of a cool card. It's close to like a Hero's Downfall, like Murder Effect, which is like fine. And then more of a sideboard card, against tokens and so on and so forth. Kind of narrow. Probably won't see play in Constructed once the token ability is very, very relevant. But it's, it could see play. It's definitely kind of a weird rare, honestly. It's a little weird, but it's fine. It's reasonable. Obviously, first pick and limited, great kill spell. But all in all, just kind of like a middling card that's, kind of like a main deckable sideboard card. Up next is Blood Tithe Collector. 5 mana for a 3/4 flying. When it comes into play, if opponent lost life this turn, they discard a card. So, big flying Ravenous Rat. The floor here is great. The floor here is a 3/4 flyer over 4, which is obviously totally fine. So, very solid draft card. And honestly, it operates on a good spot in the curve, where by the time you cast this, your opponent's likely to only have like 1 or 2 cards in their hand, and they're probably going to be spells, because it's turn 5, it's turn 6, and they've already played their lands. So, this one's cool. Definitely think this card is a very solid draft card for sure. Solid. Up next is Champion of the Perished. This card's freaking good, folks. It's honestly almost going to be a little more important in older formats, I think. Historic, modern, pioneer. This is probably one of the best, if not the best, zombie 1-drop ever printed. This card's phenomenal, and possibly even better than Champion of the Parish. Zombies are a worse creature type on average than humans, but usually there are more zombies than humans. Making zombie tokens and so on and so forth. This card is going to make zombies playable in Historic. Is very, very good at that. Very close to best in show, but better than Gravecrawler. Yeah. Very good with Gravecrawler also. But the thing also is that typically a lot of the zombies like Gravecrawler and stuff don't block very well. This card will block very well. Carrion Feeder. I do love Carrion Feeder. I like Cryptbreaker too, folks. I know. I like zombies too. I get it. I understand. This card's really, really good though. All right? This card's really, really good. And then limited, this card's going to be absolutely busted because you already have zombies anyway. And you have all these crappy zombie tokens coming in to make this thing bigger. And again, your goal with your decayed tokens is to find things to do with them that's not attacking and blocking. So, card's awesome. I love this card. Amazing limited card. Amazing constructed card. I love it. This card's freaking awesome. Super, super good. Obviously, a very fun pun. We get it. Ha, ha, ha. But cool. Great card. Up next is Covert Cut Purse. 3 mana for a 2/1. When it comes into play, destroy a creature that was dealt damage this turn, and then disturb for 5. And it comes into play as a 2/2 with Flying Death Touch. This is a good one. Again, same idea. These disturb cards are just really good. If it's a 2/1 for 3, if it kills something, awesome. And then, the game goes on, you get a little mana flooded, boom, now you have a 2/2 Flying Death Touch for for 5. So, yeah, very, very solid card. Another 2 for 1. Just a very, very solid limited card. There's not much to say. 2 for 1's a good limited. You heard it here first. Up next is Crawl from a Cellar. 1 black sorcery. It's a Raise Dead. Turns a creature from your graveyard to your hand. And put a counter onto one creature on one zombie you control. Flashback for 4. Normally, I don't like Raise Dead effects in limited. Because they're kind of just like hard to use and clunky. This one's pretty good though. This one actually affects the board. And if you flood even more later, you can use it again, affect the board again, and recur a zombie. I kind of like this card. I don't think it's a card you play a lot of. I'd want to have a lot of zombies in my deck to play it. But this card seems reasonable as a 1-of in your deck. You're looking for a little extra late game. Nothing crazy, but not as unplayable as most Raised Deads usually are. That's basically what I'm going for here. Up next is Cursive Leeches. The mana for a curse, enchant a player. As it transforms into curse, attached to a player, so it's going to flip, so you got to have that text there. At the end of your enchanted player's upkeep, they lose 1 and you gain 1. So as a curse, not very exciting. I mean, we have like the 2 mana Shrine that does this. It didn't really see any play, so not really good enough by itself. But it has Daybound and Nightbound on it, so don't play any spells. It'll flip into a Leeching Lurker, which is a 4/4 lifelink, which is very good. That's a very, very solid body. So kind of a weird card because I don't know what deck would ever want this card. If you're an aggressive deck, you can't afford to just like play a 3 mana enchantment on turn 3. It doesn't really do anything. And if you're a control deck, they're just going to have a kill spell in their hand they weren't able to use, and they're going to kill your Leeching Lurker. So, feels like a busted limited card. Very creepy. But, yeah, feels like a busted limited card. But for constructed, I just struggle to find a deck that I actually want to play with this card. It's cool, and a 4/4 lifelink is pretty great, but it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. It can flip back too. So you someone plays 2 spells, goes back to being a thing. Yes, if it's already, so if you're not unfamiliar with how Nightbound works, if it's already night and you play a Daybound card, it will come in on the night side. It's important to note. It's important to note. So, moving on. Defense Straight. I was really happy I tuned into CGB's stream. He was looking over the cards, and he read this card, and he was like, Defenestrade? What the hell is a Defenestrade? And chat was like, Defense Straight. Throw something out a window. So he looks it up, and he's like, obviously thinks chat is trolling him, and he's like, oh my god, this word actually means to throw someone out of a window. So that was a good moment. I'm glad I saw that. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously a good kill spell limited. A little awkward because usually you want to kill your opponent's flyers. So that's a little iffy in that thing. But I mean, it's instant speed. It kills things. It's obviously a solid limited card for sure. It is a word that exists. It is a word that exists. Yeah, Defense Straight is the word. So yeah, I mean, it's a limited rule spell. What do you want from me? Digraph Horde. We have a 5 mana 3/4. Comes into play, make 2 Decayed tokens, and then exile 2 cards from graveyards. This is a good 5-drop for limited. This is a good 5-drop for limited. Because a 3/4 for 5, you get 2 bodies. You get to exile cards in the graveyard, which is pretty sweet. And the body is good enough. I think if this card was like a 3/5, it'd be really good. It'd be really good. But again, remember, the tokens aren't really creatures, but they're still very valuable if you're going to use them properly. So, it's cool. Cool limited card. Dreadhound, 6 mana for a 6/6. When it comes into play, mill 3 cards. Whenever a creature dies, or a creature card is put into a graveyard from a library, each opponent loses 1 life. An absolute disgusting curve topper and limited. Kind of like Mythic Uncommon-y almost. It's a 6/6 for 6, just fine. You get great value off of the comes into play effect for your graveyard stuff. And then you just like put your opponent in terrible spots so they can't really block anymore. It's just really, really powerful card. Great curve topper and limited. Just phenomenal card. Phenomenal limited card. Play it. They don't kill it. Win the game. End of story. It's a bad dog. It's a bad dog. Constructed, obviously not, but great limited card. Great limited card. Up next is Duress. Y'all know what Duress does. I'm not even going to talk about it. All right? It's Duress. It's in every set. It's great. Eaten Alive. 1 black for a sorcery. Sack a creature, and then exile a creature or planeswalker. Also pay 5. Great removal spell limited. Obviously, you can sacrifice your tokens, or just pay 5, which is great too. Good card in Constructed. This card could see play. This card sees play a bit in Historic as Spark Harvest. This is a little better, I think, because it exiles, right? But yeah, definitely just a very, very solid card. Again, this is a card that already exists for the most part, so good card. Ecstatic Awakener. I think this card is freaking awesome. 1 mana for a 1/1. All right, Human Wizard. Pay 3, sacrifice another creature, draw a card, and then transform it. All right, so that's pretty freaking good. It flips to Awoken Demon, just a 4/4. But this card's awesome. Like, so you play it, whatever, 1 mana here or there. You find some random token. You sack the token. You get to draw a card and make a 4/4. So you end up paying 4 mana total, spread out over payments, for a 4/4 that draws a card. Just a really, really good common. I'm surprised this card's even common, honestly. So, great use for your Decayed cards. You can just sacrifice like a random creature also just fine. You know, you get the card back. You make a 4/4. This card's an awesome common. I love this card. I think it's very, very good. I think if it didn't sacrifice a card or didn't draw a card, it would still be like an okay card. But because it does draw a card, it's probably one of the best black commons. I think this card's phenomenal. Really, really good. Just an excellent common. And honestly, I think this card's playable in Constructed, honestly, in Standard. I think if there's the right fodder and the right, fits into the curve the right way and so on and so forth, this card could definitely see play. Card's super awesome. Really, really good card. Love it. Up next is Foul Play. 2 mana sorcery. Kill a creature power 2 or less. Investigate. This card's pretty good. Just card advantage on a kill spell. Obviously 2 or less is kind of like tough. Maybe more of a sideboard card, but definitely Constructed potential. Limited, it's good. It's good. Just cantrip, draws a card. It's like a shock, it draws a card. It's totally good and limited. So, solid card. Solid card. Ghoulish Procession. 2-mana enchantment. Whenever one or more non-token creatures die, make a decay token only once a turn. This card is probably not good enough. Like, again, the tokens aren't really that useful anyway, because, like, they're just not that useful, realistically. And you're never sacrificing things on purpose to make freaking decay tokens. And if you, this card, how many tokens does this card need to make before it's, like, a playable card, right? Like 2-mana sorcery, make X decayed tokens. What does X need to be good? You know, I think 2 is like passable. 3 is like, now we're in the good territory. It's going to be very, very hard for this card to make 3 tokens. So, just seems bad on all fronts. On all fronts. So, not a fan. Not a fan. Up next is Gisa, Glorious Resurrector. Black 2 for a 4/4. It's pretty good. It has the Kalitas or Kalitas ability. Whenever a creature your opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Then, at the end of your upkeep, put all creature cards exile with Glitza, or Gisa, or whatever, onto the battlefield, but they are decayed. So they're not, it's not like you just steal all their stuff. It's going to be decayed, won't last forever, can't block. So a lot weaker than it looks. This is not just like a, I steal all your shit kind of card. But a 4/4 for 4 of it has the Kalitas like exile effect. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So, absolute bomb and limited. Just an absolute bomb. Constructed, probably not. Probably not. Unless, like, you really need some sort of effect to exile creatures. Like, if exiling creatures from the graveyard is, or from play when they die is really, really important, sure. But for the most part, it's okay. You know, nothing really crazy constructed, but bomb limited card. Bomb limited card. Up next is Graveyard Trespasser, and similar to our White Best in show, exiling graveyards is great at a decent rate. We got 3 mana for a 3/3. It's got ward, discard of cards. If you want to bolt this thing, it's going to cost you another card, which is pretty good. That's the Reality Smasher ability. Then we have the ability where whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. If it's a creature, you gain 1 and they lose 1. So that's really good. This is sort of like a Scavenging Ooze kind of card with upside. It's repeatable. It loses life. It gains life. It's hard to kill. Decent size. That's all great. And then it's also a werewolf, so you have to flip it onto Knight. Same ward ability. And whenever it attacks, you can exile 2 cards. And for 2 cards, same idea. Every creature exiled, gain 1, lose 1. And then that's just it. Nothing really fancy here, but it's just like a pretty good card on rate. Just a solid card. Graveyard. I think Graveyard hits going to be very, very important, obviously. So I think Champion of the Parish could have also been best in show, but I think this card's going to be more impactful in Standard. So I always lean a little more towards Standard with my set reviews as far as best in show. So this card's sweet. It's on attacks. It's when it comes into play. Always gets value off of it. Gains some life. Deals some damage. Hard to kill. Just a very, very solid card. Very, very solid card. It's great. And then limited, obviously busted. Just a busted limited card. Just insanely good on rate. Great limited card. Good stuff. And good stuff. Best in show for black. Moving on to Heirloom Mirror. 2-mana artifact. Pay 1, pay a life, discard a card. And you get to draw a card, mill a card, then put a ritual counter on the mirror. 3 or more ritual counters on it, remove them and transform it. So, Heirloom, Heirloom, whatever. Fuck, leave me alone. All right? I'm trying my best. I think I'm doing very, very good so far with set review as far as pronunciation, all right? So back up. Back up. Jeez. Heirloom. So do it 3 times, you get to flip it. You turn into an Inherited Fiend, which is a 4/4 flyer. Pay 3, exile a creature card from the graveyard, and put a counter on it. If you're looking for a way to just like put cards in your graveyard, like, it is a looting effect for 3 times, which is pretty good. Just pretty good, honestly. You know, obviously you discard disturb cards and so on and so forth, discard land, flashback cards, and so far. So that's kind of cool. It's a little slow. Requires you to pay life. You know, you mill cards, which is kind of cool. So it really does fill the graveyard, which is nice. It's slow, but it makes a very good creature too. So I think this is my kind of card where, like, if your deck's a little slow, you need a win condition in your draft deck, certainly reasonable. The Fiend does kill pretty fast, which is pretty cool also. And it's very likely you can like flip it and then pump it immediately to a 5/5, which is pretty good. So yeah, solid card. Solid limited card. I think it's reasonable.
Call it higher loam.
Thanks, Counter. Appreciate it. Moving on. Hobbling Zombie. 2/2 for 3. Death Touch. When it dies, make a token. Fine card. Just Death Touches are always good blockers. Nothing crazy here. This card is also good at triggering your vampire effects for dealing damage. So the cards that trigger off damage, your opponent will never want to block this usually. So then you attack with it, trigger the ability, and so on and so forth. That's pretty good as well. Just your mid-level, limited common. Nothing crazy here. Nothing crazy. Infernal Grasp. Infernal Grasp.
It's a trap.
Yeah. Infernal Grasp. Folks, this is not Doomblade. All right. This card is good. Don't get me wrong. This card is good. But this card is not Doomblade. This is not a card you just put in your deck willy-nilly. All right. This is the kind of card you need to play in certain decks for a certain reason. Okay. If you're a control deck, you really can't play this card. Like, so you're going to be a control deck. You're trying to stabilize. I'm going to shock myself, kill your creature. And then shock myself, kill your creature. That's 4 freaking life. That's a 30 or a 50 or goddamn life total. All right. So if you're an aggressive deck, this card's great. If you're a tempo deck, this card is great. People are looking at this card like, oh my god, insane Doomblade. This card's insane. Forget other Doomblades. And yes, it is very, very similar to the white rare. Exactly. Very, very similar to the white rare. Oh my god, where is it? Oh my god. In Fateful Absence. Very, very similar. Both cards I think are trappy, where they're definitely good. There's no question that these cards are both good, but they're not universally good. They're actually very well designed. Because if you make your Doomblade effect too good, then the control decks and the mid-range decks just kill things too easily and stabilize, and they're not very well designed. So these are like good in creature decks and not good in control decks, and makes them real tension, which is awesome. So that's great. That's really, really good. There's a reason why you don't see Dismember in your control decks, all right? Because paying life for removal spells is not good. There's also a reason why Lightning Helix is so good. Like, Helix is so good because you gain life and your goal is to stabilize your removal spell. So taking 2 life is a huge cost. If you're an aggressive deck, if you're a more tempo-y mid-range deck, sure, this card's great. It's a good kill spell. But otherwise, it's overrated. Again, good card, will definitely see play, but this is not Doomblade 2.0. This is not Terminate. You can't just slap 4 in your deck and call it a day. All right? Please be careful with this card. It is risky. It is risky. In limited, it's bonkers, obviously. Great limited card. Great limited card. Moving on. Jatter, Ghoul Caller of the Nephalia. 2 mana for a 1/1. Beginning of your end step, if you have no decayed creatures, make a decayed creature. Kind of a cool card. Kind of a cool card because it just makes infinite tokens. If you wait to sacrifice these tokens, you can just keep making one every single turn, which is cool. And it's also your end step, so you get it immediately. So kind of a cool card, but at the same time, you need something to do with the tokens to make it like that good. Maybe you're sacrificing it to, I don't know, village rights or whatever. So yeah, similar to a Phenomancer. But of course, a Phenomancer made Death Touch blockers that were great. This makes zombies that aren't even really creatures in a lot of ways. And it also can't flood the board with them either. The one good thing that zombies do is you can flood the board with them. There are cards that use creatures for different things. This can only ever make one. So that's a thing. Of course, you can just attack it every turn. That's totally reasonable as well. But that's like, it's fine, I guess. It's, it's 2 damage a turn, maybe if they can't block and so on and so forth. So the card's really cool. I like it a lot. It's a very weird card. It's very, very hard to parse because it's just kind of weird in that, like, it makes a token sometimes, but not always. And then a token that it makes is very, very weird also. So it's just kind of a weird card in general. Constructed, I'm just not really sure. In limited, the card's great, obviously, because in limited, you can just, like, send for 2, send for 2, send for 2, whatever. And that's, like, good enough. Also very good with Covenant limited as well. It's a 1/1 and a 2/2. But kind of just a weird card. Could definitely see play in Constructed for sure. Because it is powerful enough. It's just a very, very weird card. Seems hard to use. But it's cool. It is a cool card. It's also a Wizard for Party. That's cool too. Sure, that's pretty cool. I like it. Jaren, Corrupted Bishop is next. 3 mana for a 2/3. Comes into play. Or another non-token human dies. that you control. Lose life and make a human token. So kind of a cool card in that like it's sort of like Woe Strider-esque. It's 2/3. It makes a token, and then you get to like sort of get other tokens at the cost of life. You can pay 2 to give a human lifelink, which is certainly a reasonable ability. It's not crazy. And then things get wild. At the beginning of your end step, if you have exactly 13 life, you may pay 6 mana to transform it into 6 mana, 13 life. What do you get? You get Ormondal the Corruptor. So not quite as big as Ormondal used to be. But 6/6 flying trample lifelink is quite good. It is quite good. Sack creature and draw a card. So the backside here is amazingly good. But it's going to be hard to freaking to get this. Like, you know, like you need to have exactly 13 life on your end step and then pay 6 mana. Like, oh boy. So this card is unlikely to flip in a real world scenario. But the card itself is actually pretty good. Again, a 2/3 for 3. It also makes a 1/1. It can sacrifice creatures, make more tokens, give lifelink here and there. So I think this card is like pretty playable in standard, honestly, based on that. I think that the people are going to look at the backside of this and think this is like the main draw to the card. This is not the main draw to the card. Ormondal is like not going to happen very often. All right. The draw to the card is this is a sort of a Woe Strider kind of effect. Sacrifice things, make tokens, sacrifice things, lifelink here and there. It's just a kind of like value-esque sacrifice card. Ormondal is all just a bonus. Limited, it's bonkers. It's just a good value creature and so on and so forth. Giving lifelink is very reasonable. I think almost a little more likely in limited because you have more time to do it. But yeah, and please note that you can't flip this card with the day-night stuff. The day-night stuff is only for things that have nightbound or daybound. It's important to note. All right. Good limited card, playable constructed card. It's better than it looks. We'll leave it at that. And yeah, Ormondal. Up next is Lord of the Forsaken, which is kind of weird because like it's a 6/6 flying trample demon into a 6/6 flying trample demon, I guess. 6 mana for a 6/6 flying trample demon. Pay a black, sack creature, mill 3 cards. Okay. Pay 1 life, add a colorless, only for spells cast from your graveyard. This is like a commandery card, not a constructed playable card at all. Just doesn't really do anything. In limited, it's a 6/6 flyer for 6, so trample. So play it. It's big, great. And then, yeah, great limited card, obviously. But constructed, no. Commander, sure, whatever. But, yeah. Lord of the Forsaken, what are you going to do? Mask of Grizzlebrand. I don't know. Grizzlebrand was a 7/7, right? And that mask looks pretty small. Pretty small. Swole reset, thanks so much. Black 1, equipment. Creature has flying and lifelink, and it equips for 3. This is a very expensive card. And whenever a creature dies, you may pay X life, where X is the power. If you do, draw X cards. So, very, very powerful card, but extremely expensive. Extremely expensive. You know, constructed, definitely not. In limited, if you need a way to win, this card is reasonable. The weird thing is that, like, flying and lifelink is very good. If they kill the creature in response, you're probably going to lose the game. But it is reasonable. It's fine on decay tokens, sure. That's pretty cool, actually. So, it's your kind of, like, typical, like, slow limited card that will win you the game for sure if it lives and you have time to use it. But is very slow, very clunky, and very prone to getting blown out. So, insane seal card. Good limited card if you need a way to win. Yeah, that's basically it. That's basically it. The Meat Hook Massacre. Disgusting. Black, and X. Legendary enchantment. When it comes into play, each creature gets -X on that turn. Okay. Whenever creature you control dies, opponent loses 1 life. Whenever creature an opponent control dies, you gain 1 life. Kind of a weird Wrath of God-y variant. Probably more of a sideboard card against like smaller decks. Kind of weird because like you have this text about your own creatures dying, but you don't really want to play creatures, so you also have to just kill them. So, yeah, kind of a weird card. You know, probably more of like a sideboard card against like token decks, stuff like that. Definitely no Black Sun Zenith. That's true. That's true. You can play it for black. That is true, but like it's not particularly great either. So it's kind of a weird card. I doubt that you'll see too much play. It is sort of a blood artist. That is true, I guess. So it is like you could just play this as a blood artist effect. If you're dying for that, I suppose. And yeah, more like a commander card for sure. More of a commander card. Limited, busted, obviously. It's masterable, limited. Let's take it, win the game with it. But yeah. Moving on to Morbid Opportunist. 2 mana for a 1/3. Whenever one or more creatures die, draw a card. Once a turn. This card's insane. Just insane. Like, even if the decay tokens weren't in this set, this card would already be insane in limited. And with it being in there, it's just insane in limited. So, super, super awesome card limited. Constructed, probably not, but maybe, honestly. It's close to Midnight Marauder, or Midnight Haunter, Midnight Reaper. But very, very powerful card limited. Uncommon, mythic uncommon for limited. Super, super good card. Super, super good card. Mork Behemoth. This card's also awesome. 5 mana for a 7/6, but you got to sack a creature or pay 2 more. So it's 7 mana for a 7/6 or 5 mana for a 7/6 sack a creature. Again, zombie tokens galore to sacrifice, so really powerful common here. Has Menace also. Menace is honestly like not that good on a creature like this because often like you have to double block to kill it anyway. So like if I have 2 3/3s and I want to deal with this, I'm already double blocking regardless, but you can't chump it, which is important. So great win condition, huge fatty, and again, trying to find use for your decayed tokens, that's a good one. That's a good one. Up next is Necro Synthesis. 2 mana for an enchantment aura. Enchants a creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever another creature dies, put a counter on this. When the enchanted creature dies, look at the top X cards of your library, X its power, one of those cards in your hand, rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. Kind of a weird card because by itself doesn't really do anything, and you run the risk of like getting bounced or pacifismed or killed in response or whatever. So like the auras really have to have like a super high upside. It is a fine card in a slower game, obviously. You know, things are trading, gets bigger, yada yada yada. It's good with haunt token, zombie decayed tokens, which is kind of cool as well. But again, it's just like slow. It's just not great. I wouldn't be happy with this card most of the time in my draft deck. Yeah, it's a lot of hoops for not a lot of payoff. I think constructed, obviously not. No Way Out. We got a Mind Rot, make a decayed token. Fine card in limited. Mind Rots are always like okay, and then token's good too. Constructed, not really. It's Mind Rot, folks. You just don't, you know what it does. You're playing sealed though. You have like two or three of these. Don't be afraid to choose draw first and just run your opponent out of cards. Novice Occultist, 2 mana for a 1/2. When it dies, draw a card with 1 life. Kind of like a weird reverse Elvish Visionary. If you have sack effects, it's fine. It's not great though. Just okay. Just okay. Olivia's Midnight Ambush, 2 mana for an instant, -2/2. So it's a bad disfigure. But if it's nighttime, -13/13. Real solid draft card. Real solid draft card because this is going to be terminate a lot of the time. I imagine in limited, most games are going to enter a day-night cycle, and it's going to be night sometimes. So really, real good card. It's good. Yeah, play this card after 6 p.m. Right, exactly. What time is it? So, yeah, cool card. Great removal spell unlimited. Constructed, probably not, but great removal spell unlimited. Yeah, and as an instant, you can like have a wolf in play, say go, flip it, kill on their turn, which is great too. So, yeah, top-notch limited spell. Top-notch limited spell. Rotten Reunion. 1 black instant. Exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. Make a decayed token. Flashback for 2. So we were asking basically what is the value of a decayed token? How much mana for decayed tokens kind of thing, you know? So, 2 mana for 2 tokens? I think I want 3. So this is 3 mana for 2 tokens. However, it is also graveyard hate. So feels like more of a sideboard card against the flashbacky decks in limited. So I think this is more of a sideboard card in limited for sure. It is also, a potential constructed card if like you're ruining a Coffin Purge, but it's cool. It's cool. Up next is Shady Traveler. 3 mana for a 2/3 menace, which is fine. And then it flips over into a 4/4 menace, which is also fine. It's just kind of like your whatever common. It's fine. Nothing amazing. If you're looking to get to nighttime, this can do that for you. Just fine. Just a real, real, like, replacement level common. Nothing really particularly exciting here. Up next is Siege Zombie. Great 2-drop here. 2 mana for a 2/2. Tap 3 untap creatures you control. Each opponent loses 1 life. Again, we're looking for things to do with our tokens. This is it. It's on a bear, which is great. So it's a zombie, it's a bear, and then it makes so all of your zombies can occasionally just dink your opponent, which is kind of cool. And you don't need to do much more than be a bear to be a reasonable card. So just solid 2-drop. Won't always play it. Want it more in your zombie deck, but it's a cool card. Slaughter Specialist. I actually like this card a lot. 2 mana for a vampire. It's a 3/3. When it comes into play, each opponent makes a 1/1. Okay. Whenever a creature opponent controls dies, you put a counter on this. So a 3/3 for 2 is like pretty freaking good. And then it just gets better and better as time goes on. So I like this card a lot. You're just playing Magic, killing creatures, things are dying. I like it, honestly. Super solid card. I think it could see play constructed. Great limited card. Just a solid card. Stromkirk, Blood Thief. 3 mana for a 2/2. Beginning of your end step, opponent lost life this turn, put a counter on a vampire you control. Again, sort of like that aggressive vampire mechanic. We see some cards that are good with it. It's pretty good that it scales. It's a little weak overall, honestly. Like, it's a 2/2 for 3 with, like, not a lot of upside. But if you need a way to break through, or you need a way to, like, break a board stall, I guess you can't really, like, you're not really doing damage. This card seems kind of weak, actually. Seems kind of weak. The problem is that, like, I always say that cards that scale and limited are very good, but it's hard to make this card scale because if you're board stalled, you're not getting anywhere. So, seems okay, but not really great. I don't know. I'm not too excited about this one in limited, honestly. Up next is Tainted Adversary, the black adversary. 2 mana for a 2/3 dead touch, which is fine. And then we have kicker, multi-kicker 3. For every multi-kicker, it gets +1/+1 counter, and then you make twice that many black decayed tokens. So, we have a 2/3 death touch for 2. We have a 3/4 death touch and 2 decayed tokens for 5. We have a 4/5 death touch and 4 decayed tokens for 8. Again, I don't think any of those are good enough for constructed. Decayed tokens aren't that good. A 2/3 death touch for 2 isn't that good. It's just a middling, like, okay card. Great and limited. Sure, it's a good limited card. Probably a little worse in limited than some of the other ones, but still a very, very solid limited card. But again, just feels like it's not really doing enough for the mana you're spending on it. I'm just not thrilled. Not really thrilled. Vampire Interloper's back. Good draft card. Again, all these vampire cards that want to deal damage triggers those pretty well. Nothing amazing, just a good aggro 2-drop for your black deck. Vengeful Strangler, 2 mana for a 2/1, can't block. When it dies, bring it back to the graveyard transformed. Under your control, attached to a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. So 2 on the can't block is not particularly great. But it turns into Strangling Grasp, which enchants a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Beginning of your upkeep, enchanted permanent controller sacrifices a non-land permanent and loses 1 life. So pretty good to flip. The problem is that the front side here is just like not very good. It's a 2/1 that can't block. So realistically, unless you're able to attack with this thing over and over again, it's not doing that much. If you sack it to like a sack effect, it's kind of cool, and you get like a little bit of value off it as well. Obviously, they kind of have to sacrifice the thing that you target, but it just seems like it's kind of eh. If you're not sacrificing it or attacking a lot, it's not great, and it seems pretty hard to get this card through. So if you attack until they kill it, like it's okay, and I agree. How does this card attack? It's tied to a freaking pole for sure. But yeah, I think if you're aggressive or sacrificing, it's fine. But all in all, I'm not super excited about this card. Don't think it's great. That's it. That's black. YouTube folks, love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think your best show is. Red's coming up, YouTube. All right, I love you. I'll see you soon.